All right, so my name's Travis Laverne. I'm a second-year PA student at Drexel University. I'm currently in clinical rotations, in my 5th clinical rotation in OBGYN, which, like many of the people across the country right now, is on a bit of a delay and hold for the time being, but that should hopefully be starting back up on the 20th. And then also I'm currently the class president for our class as well. So interesting role, fun role.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll definitely get to that because I have my personal thoughts on being an officer in your class. But what kind of brought you to the PA profession? Give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So it's pretty non-traditional. I was in the United States Air Force active duty for 13 years before I separated and started PA school. I always kind of had an interest in medicine. I thought it was really cool. I mean, I've always been attracted to like the high ops tempo type careers and a lot of responsibility and do really well under pressure. So, you know, that side of medicine always interests me, but I just was kind of a knucklehead in high school and just didn't have the patience to kind of get through school. So I went the military route and I loved it, right? I was really high speed. I traveled the world. I was exposed to a lot of PAs in the military because that's pretty much the main providers that we see in our clinics. So I was kind of familiar with the career field, but I really didn't start investigating it until probably about 10 years into the Air Force. My wife and I, we would sit down at night and I would watch those untold stories at the ER. And I would just get so hooked and I'd watch them religiously every night I could. And I would always just try to figure out what was going on with the patients. And she just kind of questioned me on it. I was like, why didn't you ever get into medicine? And that's kind of what kicked it off. And then I just started doing more research. And the more research I did, the more the fire got lit. And I started reaching out to some PAs and some friends that I knew. And I started doing some shadowing. And the rest is history.
That's awesome. Okay, so you had, I'd call that non-traditional. So kind of switch paths, but always had the interest
when I did
there.
The Air Force, had nothing to do with medicine. I operated the jet engine testing facilities for the F-22. So I was just straight type maintenance stuff. No medical background prior to that. So it was kind of a big jump.
So when you made the decision, okay, this is something I want to do. I'm going to pursue PA. What did kind of practically that transition look like?
So I really I started doing a lot of research and trying to figure it out, like kind of carving out a path as to what it would take. And I had my bachelor's degree and I had just about to finish my master's degree in management when I started. And so I had no prerequisite type, but I didn't have any of my core science courses or anything like that. So I was really having to carve that roadmap out. Once I kind of did that, and I mean, this was probably over a course of 6 to 8 months that I was doing this and shadowing and talking to PAs, I had a good idea of what I needed to get done, like school-wise, and that was my main focus, was just getting the prerequisites done. And then once I got closer, probably halfway through those, I started getting my shadowing hours. And we can talk about what I did there. But, the more courses I took, I just started to get more and more interested. I mean, I loved anatomy. I love biology. So I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely my path. And then I started volunteering, in the emergency room. And then I got a job scribing in the evenings. And that was kind of hard because I was active duty Air Force, so I had to work my, 8 to 5 morning job, and then I would come home and then, head to the emergency room for like a 10 p.m. to like 2 or 3 a.m. shift. 3 days a week, just to try to get those hours and that experience, all while married and a baby.
Oh gosh, it's a lot.
Yeah, but that's kind of how it was, and I did that for it took me about 3.5 years actually to get through all my prerequisites and build up a decent amount of hours to where I had to make that decision, was I going to apply to PA school and separate the Air Force, or because another interesting component of it was I had to time it right because when you're in the military, you have a contract that you're bounded by, and with the Air Force, it was 4 to 6 years. So I had to almost time it right to where my contract was going to expire, and I could hit the application cycle. And I was short a couple months, so I actually had to make the decision to leave the Air Force before even applying to PA school. And 13 years in the military, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but at 20 years you can retire. I would have been 37 years old with a pension, so that was a tough decision, especially with a baby.
Yeah, that is tough. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's like a faith leap there. Pretty big faith leap. Okay, so you decided like I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna apply to PA school. What did applying look like for you? What were you looking for in programs, and kind of how'd that go?
Yeah. So, with the way I had my life structured, I was married, a couple years married, and I had a baby. We really had to look for something that was going to support us, not only financially with using like the GI Bill stuff, but my wife's family was in New Jersey, and so with the baby, and she's a high school teacher, so she has a pretty good job for it. But we also needed to be around family for like support, right? I knew PA school from everything I heard was very demanding, and we weren't going to be able to do it alone. So I looked at programs, and fortunately in the New Jersey, Philadelphia area, there's a good amount of programs compared to like the rest of the nation for application to apply to. So it kind of served us well. And in the midst of doing that investigation, I found out that a couple of the programs not only accepted the GI Bill, but they offered what's called like the Yellow Ribbon program, which kind of adds to that. And Drexel was 100% Yellow Ribbon program, so that was definitely my top school. But that's kind of what it looked like for my application. And once I got that done, actually, you know what? Let me go back a little bit, Savannah, because before I was even able to apply, like I said, I had a couple months where the application cycle hadn't opened up yet. So I got a job, fortunately, through resources and asking friends and family at the Hospital University of Pennsylvania as a clinical research coordinator in cardiac surgery. And I think that is what really propelled me to being able to get, at least a couple looks at my application from having such a non-traditional background, because it really exposed me to a lot of really cool medicine, and a lot of my letters of recommendation and stuff came from there. So I think that helped out a lot. So I did that for a couple months, and then I was able to put everything through the application.
Okay, so you had a good variety on your application of just experience, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah. So how many schools did you apply to total?
So I did 5 schools total, and I got interviews at all of them, but I only attended Drexel's because that was the first one I got. And Drexel, out of all the programs, Drexel with the Yellow Ribbon program in GI Bill, Drexel's program pays for 100% of my tuition. So that was definitely kind of a no-brainer. Once I got the acceptance for there, I signed on the dot.
Good to go. Yeah, my program had the Yellow Ribbon program, so we had a couple of vets come in to my school. So can you talk a little bit about like what that means, and I guess who qualifies maybe for the GI Bill, like what it would take?
Yeah, sure. So the GI Bill is it's a program that if you serve, I think, active duty. I can speak from the active duty side. I don't really, the reserve and guard side I'm not really too familiar with. But from the active duty side, if you serve at least 3.5 years active duty, you can take, you can get the benefit of the GI Bill. You have to pay into it for at least a year. I think it was when I did it was like $100 or so odd a month out of your paycheck for a year. And then you serve 3.5 years. And once you had that 3.5 years secured active duty time, you had access to those GI Bill benefits. And the cool thing about the GI Bill benefits is that it pays 100%. It pays up to 38 months of education, 100% of your in-state tuition for a college, like a state college. Unfortunately, a lot of the PA programs are at private universities, so it would only pay up to a certain percentage. I think at the time when I had looked, it was like $19,000 or something like that annually. It's what it would give you. But if that college had a Yellow Ribbon program, which was kind of like the college acknowledging, they're veteran friendly, they would match the GI Bill contribution, which was pretty significant.
Wow.
So that's what's able to get you to pay for all of your tuition, and it's really stipulated by the different universities. Like some universities will say we're going to accept 5% of the student population that are veterans. We'll give them an allocated amount, and that varies too. I think some of the programs that I applied to would give you $2,500 for the year. Some would give you $10,000. Drexel would match exactly what the GI. They'd make sure 100% was covered no matter what. And another really cool thing was you had to look and see, what percentage of students could get this benefit. Drexel, if you're a veteran, you get it no matter what. and it's not even an application process. You pretty much, you contact the VA department for the school, and they kind of do all the paperwork for you, and it's really easy process. Almost too easy. Like, I always find myself calling to make sure it went through. But
that's
so
awesome.
other schools mainly accept 15, 20 students a year. So you really have to kind of look into it and contact the departments to see. It's very specific for the university. But yeah, it's a phenomenal benefit. And in addition to the tuition, they pay you a housing allowance for the zip code of the college. So, I think Philadelphia, it's like $2,500 a month on top of them paying your tuition. I think
that is
book
crazy.
stipend. So it's definitely a pinch yourself kind of benefit that's pretty cool and definitely worth taking advantage of.
Wow, that's really cool.
It's very cool.
Probably not something that enough people use or
I would agree.
take advantage of.
Really, you got to really understand how it works for you, because a lot of the really some people that I knew took advantage of the GI Bill in their yellow ribbon program for their associate's degree, which is great. But in comparison, if I would have used it all up during my associate's degree, that would have cost me probably, I don't know, $20,000-$30,000. Whereas, I use it later in my career for a graduate professional degree, and it's going a lot further. It's VA school. So really understanding how it works and how you can implement that is really good. And a lot of those VA reps at the colleges are very well versed in that. So if anybody has that benefit available to them, I would highly suggest that they reach out to that department and kind of figure out what's available.
No, and I think there are, at one point I spoke with a PA at Duke who was trying to really advocate for veterans going into PA school. And so if anyone has questions, I can get you his contact info, because he was working one-on-one with veterans to try to help them.
Coaching them through
which was really cool. So,
that's great.
All right, so then you went to PA school.
Yeah.
How's that been?
Just like that.
Good, bad, what you expected?
Yeah, I had gotten in really early, so my interview was one of the first groups of interviews. So I waited a little over a year before I started school. So I continued to work at Penn, and it was just kind of sitting here all right, I got in, now what do? I just wait a year. So it was kind of an interesting year, but so I was in.
Yeah. So you decided to run for class president. I don't know. In mine it was unopposed, but
so I really wasn't. The way our class did it, I guess you could nominate yourself. I had no intentions to do it, because I'll be honest with you, that first quarter, and we did it the first quarter of PA school too. We're in the quarter system versus the regular semester, and that's when they really hit you. Your eyes get really open. You're really getting blasted. So the anatomy stuff is just crazy, and you're just kind of adapting. And I was commuting from New Jersey to Philadelphia every day on the train, and that was new to me. So I was like, there is no way I am taking anything else on. I have a family at home. My wife will kill me if I do this. And like I said, I'm always seeking out the next greatest thing. So deep down inside, I'm but I was like, no, I got to stay away. But I ended up getting nominated by a couple of the members in my class, and I kind of sat on it. I really didn't say anything, and I started thinking if somebody had enough they went out of their way and saw something in me and nominated me to do that for the class, and at least I could do is stand up in front of the class and make a 5-minute speech, and next thing you know, I got elected, and so that was kind of I took it on from there. And I'll tell you, it's probably I'm really glad I did it, because that first quarter was I wasn't fully bought in, I think, because I had my wife and kid at home. I was commuting. I was struggling. I was tired. But then when I took on that little bit of extra responsibility and was kind of a representative for the class, I just shifted gears, and it was I had to really, I was bought in at that point.
Yeah.
And then everything started getting better. So I think it really saved at least that first quarter for sure.
Helped you connect a little better. How big is your class?
We started, I think, because there was a couple that Drexel's kind of got a reputation for a pretty high attrition rate for that first quarter for anatomy and stuff. So I think we had 6 or 7 students from the previous year finished tacked on with us to go through anatomy again, and I think we were at 82 to 84.
Oh, that's big. Okay.
Yeah, it was a
wow.
large class.
That's large.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we were at 44, and I think I've said it on here before, but I actually regret not running for president. Just, I mean, I don't know, like in our class, it was a pretty important role, and it's something I like thought about, but I didn't end up doing it. And then there were times throughout the program where I kind of wished I had. So, but I know it can be a tough job.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
a tough job, but I think it like I said, it really like had me buy in, and then it's. You can really do a lot of good in that position, especially for a lot of students, especially like, because I mean, one thing is communication between like faculty and students, and then students have issues, and you really have an opportunity to like bring the class together and really make it unique, and kind of, each class as they go through has their like footprint, and there's so many smart people in the class, and like the PA, that's one thing that's so great about the profession. It attracts like these great minds, and like just being able to kind of like steer that like, ship a little bit and kind of like engage people and like get good ideas from the class and implement. I mean, it's a self-running machine. Like our class is great because of that. You just got to empower people, and you empower the right people, and cool things happen. So that's why the position is really fun. Yeah,
and you seem like someone who would be very easy to like come to, and
I try to be
receptive to
just go with the flow
to class issues.
Having that military background, kind of just going through a lot like in life, and a little bit of like life experience helped out a ton. It takes a lot to like really like shake me up, just because the deployments and stuff like that. So it's you weather the storm.
Natural fit. There you go. All right. So you said you struggled a little bit at the beginning of PA school, which is normal. Everyone does. How long did it take you to kind of feel like find your groove and what works best for you and routine wise?
It probably took me, to be honest, like I think that whole first quarter was pretty messy for me. And that was 10 weeks. But I would say probably like weeks 5, 6, I kind of had figured out, because prior to that, like I didn't want to change things too, because you have all these recommendations from people, like what not to do. Don't wait too long before you change something, like change it right away. Like don't get stuck in your ways, like always ask for help. And that's not something I did either, because my GPA was really good. I did really good in like ACE anatomy prior to this, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. And it's not. It's a lot. It's different. And like I remember my first exam, I literally failed my first exam, like bad. And I'm like, whoa.
Wake up.
And I was up studying. I was doing everything I could, and that's what I was doing. I was doing too much, and I just wasn't retaining it. And then you get competitive with other people, and you want to know why is nobody else failing like this? But they really are. Just nobody's really opening up about it, which is another thing I found out. But I think it probably took me that first quarter to kind of get my confidence back up and kind of get in the groove. It was a little bit hard for me too, because I had a lot of things going on back home too, like trying to take care of the baby. So that was hard, but it probably took me at least 6 to 8 weeks to feel like I had this. Once I started, once that second exam came back and I was good and things were getting better and I was improving, I knew I was doing the right thing. I just had to just do it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Get
better. Do you have any tips on balancing, like, because this is a question I get a lot that I can't speak to because I wasn't in this position, but having a family and kind of established separation during PA school, like how have you found to, I know I don't believe in balance, like I don't think everything will ever be completely balanced, but how have you made that work with your family?
I think that's what you just said there, like, is you nail it. Once you figure out that, like, there will not be a balance, and there can't be, and, like, a lot of people, and especially, in my situation, like once again, it took me 3.5 years to get to this point, so, like, we knew what was kind of coming. We thought we knew, right? Once you're in it, you're like, well, we have no idea what this is going to be like. But we kind of thought we knew what we were getting into, but the best thing that I found out was, like, once I figured out kind of what we were in, like how difficult this was going to be, like I sat down with my wife and we like really went over like how hard this was going to be, and just kind of like I showed her everything. Like no one will really ever understand it until they're in it, as much as you try. But like I showed her like all the assignments I would do and things that we were expected to learn and like what I had to do, and I carved out. We had a family calendar, and like as long as I was very on top of that calendar, and I showed like where my study time was going to be, or like if I needed to come home, just lock myself in the office, and she could visually see that, like it made things better. Versus me saying like, I'm going upstairs to study, and she was like wanted to watch a movie or something. But as long as I was like the week or two ahead of her, and like I could put what I needed to get done that week, it was okay. Now it was still hard, very hard, and I kept promising to her it would get better in clinicals, and it has. And she believes me, so she hung in there.
Good. It goes quick. It does go quick.
Upfront and honest, and just rolling with the punches, and know there's going to be hard times. Don't expect a balance, and communicate as best as you can. And there's going to be days where you're frustrated and stressed out, and they're frustrated and stressed out. And to be honest with you, there's days that I had to like close my computer and just say, I'm going to do my best, and that's all I can do. I might not get an A on this exam. It might just need a B, or and be okay with that, because you have other things going on. I still remember to this one day, like I heard because I have two children. We ended up having a second son later on, and I remember he was calling. I was upstairs in the office, and he was calling my name, and my oldest goes, "Daddy doesn't live here anymore, Luke," because he hadn't seen me. And like that was it. Like closed the computer, went downstairs, and like broke my heart, right? And I was like, never again. So like once I got better into what you start learning what the exams are like and what you're expected of and how far you can push yourself. I set a limit. Like I was never studying past 10 o'clock. Like if there were certain days I wouldn't study, and my weekends I'd maximize my weekends. I didn't really study through my weekends. I studied through the week, so I had my weekends with the family. That was another big thing that helped a lot, but. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but we got through it.
Yeah. Get through it. No, that is hard. And I was living at home with my parents, and they were great, but they also like didn't quite understand. And then my fiance was in med school, so like we would see each other once a week for a study date. It was just that's all we had. But my thing I remember is one day I was sitting at the dining room table, and I was just like. Lot going on, lots of tests. This was kind of that first semester, and I just like broke down in tears. And my dad walked in, and he was like, "What is wrong with you? What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm fine. I just am having a moment." And like he went and got my mom, and I was like, "I'm like," and she was like, "She's good. She's good. Just let her be. She's good." Because she understood. So, those things happen, and you just. Move on, and
I remember being in a library and seeing like things carved in desks that was like, "We will get through this quarter, PA student 2018," or like everyone goes through it. It's madness.
It's very interesting, but kudos to you for handling all that. That's it. You do it, you just make it happen, but I can't imagine. So.
It was tough, but we're here. And the quarters go by pretty quick. After that first quarter,
it goes fast.
Getting momentum, like the time starts flying.
Yeah, it really does. All right, so clinicals, how have those been?
They've been awesome. Like
that's the fun part.
World. Yeah, like totally new world, totally cool. I definitely, and I thought I was going to thrive better in the clinical realm versus like the didactic realm. I did pretty well in didactic, but clinical, like I just because that's kind of. I'm a people type person, and I like interacting and getting my hands on, and it's been everything that I thought, maybe even more actually. So it's been pretty awesome.
That's great. Do you have any idea kind of where you want to end up, or what you end up doing?
Yeah, I love surgery a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of was in that, at HUP, and I'd really like to get back into it. The hours are really long.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the cell that I'm working on right now with the wife. So. We'll see. Emergency medicine or surgery is definitely what I enjoy.
Your derm has some surgery in it. Just throwing it out there.
What's interesting is my pediatric rotation actually, the preceptor owned a medical spa, and his brother is a plastic surgeon, and he works in the office below. So like I do peds during the day, and then like in the late afternoons and evenings I work downstairs doing like lips and Botox and like doing all sorts of stuff. So I don't know, maybe there's a little plastic surgery / derm thing / pediatrics. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's not quite the same as an OR. I love the OR too, so I'm with you.
I love it. Something cool about it.
great. Well, thank you so much. Is there anywhere where people can find you or find out more information about stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they can check me out on Instagram. I mean, Instagram, I'm like a rookie at Instagram right now. It's mainly just been my kids and stuff that I've been posting since I've been stuck at home the past couple of days. I don't even really know what my name is. Let's see. TJ Laverne on Instagram. Cool. Or they can shoot me an email too.
Okay.
So, do you have my email too?
Yeah, if they can reach out to me if they
cool.
have questions, and we'll get you in touch. But
yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much.